Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for choosing to be here. I know you have a lot of options. It's an honor to speak to you all. I'm Nico. I am the founder of the Fashion DAO. I also have founded another metaverse creation company called Chief Metaverse Officer. I'm advising NFT.NYC. I hope it gets better and better over time. It's definitely a work in progress. And it's honored to be with my great colleagues and friends on this panel. I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, yeah, I'm Phillip, so I'm the technical lead. So my background is really in developing applications and doing what I need to do to give the tools that the team needs to succeed.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone feeling? Good, good. My name is Ioanna Orlova. I am part of Banyan Collective, which is the on-the-ground kind of organization for Near Protocol, collaborator of Fashion DAO, and also part of the Blockchain Center, which is located in the Upper West Side. So happy to be here with you all.
Thank you. And so our title has changed a little bit. We are going to talk more about how a successful community and organization should be built. Traditionally we always say, like, don't try to reinvent the wheel. But I think now we actually have an opportunity to do better. And we are reinventing the wheel. And DAO is just one way of doing that. And what's interesting is that a lot of people think like, oh, you're just a DAO. So they start thinking of like the DAOs that were for investment because the DAO, the original DAO, was around investment. And they start kind of like dismissing everything else about this. But similar to corporations, we have so many different types of DAOs. So it really comes down to how you define it. And I think it's a responsibility of the founder and founders to define what they mean by decentralization, what they mean by autonomy, and many more aspects of a community or organization. What is it all about? Like, what's your vision? What's your mission? What's your values? And without that, you're going to be lost. So in this conversation, we're going to talk about what we have found helpful through being part of other communities and DAOs, and having founded ours, and being technologists, both Phillip and I, we are building the infrastructure that will actually allow us to do better with these new organizations. And so that's basically what we're going to focus on. We have some good examples of this having been done right. And one bad example, which is actually a very prominent community in the Web3 space. Starting off with the definitions. So we define decentralization as a way to empower people. It wouldn't be just limited to the founders and the high-level people of an organization to make all the decisions, to get all the money. We want to actually use this technology to empower more people, and that's the beauty of decentralization for us. We have seen in that community that we are not a big fan of, but we spent several months really studying them and being part of it. They call decentralization every time that they don't want to take responsibility over their actions. This is an easy path to just not be responsible or accountable over your actions or decisions and just say it's decentralized. This is kind of something that I think we should avoid. And Ioanna has built a community before. She is also community manager of Near Protocol. I would love her to tell us more about how you think empowerment should be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like empowerment can be a nebulous term, but kind of what Nico had mentioned, it's really about giving people the chance to really own their experience and have an active role in developing the path forward. And so, prior to even being in Web3, I think it was never a formal title like being a community manager, but I think we all have a role in communities where we do kind of, play a part in forming the experience. So whether it's in your family or with your friends, if you go, to tubing in the summer and you organize that activity, that's forming a community. And so prior, I was working in Brazil at doing economic research at an early childhood institute, and it just really was the first real moment that I realized that the values that we had mentioned that we form and the way that we act upon them and give other people a chance to act upon them is so important. And that's learned from an early age too. And so the way that now in the Web3 space I have carried on, kind of facilitating and forming communities by giving people that are, coming and showing up to either, the various forms of showing up on Twitter Spaces and IRL events, which is what I mostly focus on, and really, seeing what is it that they are here to do or to learn. I think that Web3 is an experience of learning for now more than anything, learning through doing. And so, what I've seen really helps is having a kind of a workshop style. Even panels are great, and clearly we hope that you guys carry out some knowledge with you from today's discussion, but really just engaging yourself and kind of playing around with, I think the previous talk, 2 talks ago had mentioned, like just going on Mid-Journey and creating something, minting your NFT on Mintbase or any other NFT marketplace. Those are experiences that when we share together is so profound. And so yesterday, the past 2 days, for instance, we were at the HerdOwl hackathon and just like being there with the participants, like working on, okay, how do you mint a music NFT? How do you create a widget on Near Social, which is a decentralized front end on Near that even if you're part of a different ecosystem, you can actually also interact with your project through Near Social and blockchain operating system, which you guys should check out. But so, yeah.
Thank you. You touched on some beautiful parts of the community, which is definitely common purpose, shared purpose that will bring us together. And I think the other elements of like the processes that you mentioned, part of empowerment is about like really being transparent and sharing how the decisions are made, how things are done. And again, in that very famous DAO that is not doing well internally, from outside everything seems beautiful and exciting. But when you go inside, you will see that so many things are broken, and it comes down to a lot of these problems. Like, they're not sharing how the decisions are made. They're not sharing even like who makes the decisions or based on what they're making the decisions. All you get is a rejection with no clear answer. They don't even bother to like give a reason for the vote. And when I brought that up, they were like, oh, people are too lazy. They don't even want to vote. Now you want to make them to comment on the vote? And what's impacting, they don't see, again, they don't see the result of their actions because it's impacting people's lives. People put so much effort into creating a proposal, doing a project. Sometimes they're just doing a retroactive funding request. And then the outcome of it is just ignorance and rejection with no clear answer. And usually the decisions are, the reason they don't actually put it out there is because it's based on their biases. It's based on their personal choices. I believe if you are confident about how you make decisions, you shouldn't be afraid of putting it out there. And so that's what we're doing at the Fashion DAO. We are literally putting everything out there. How it's more work, definitely more work. And it's quite challenging to reinvent the wheel. We literally drafted our legal documents from scratch. We're not necessarily following any other corporation. Even though we registered the company as a public benefit corporation, or we call ourselves DAO, we're not following anybody else because we don't find anything that we fit in. And even like in terms of the DAO toolings, we couldn't really find the best DAO tooling that can really meet our requirements. So a lot of that we are building because we believe this is gonna pave the way for others. And so I would love to hear from you, Phillip. What have you seen in terms of like the decision-making processes? Like, it doesn't have to be for you to start a DAO to think about your decision-making. Even if you are a member of an organization or anything you do, there are some mind traps and biases that we should all avoid, and I think it's important to discuss.
Yeah, for sure. I think the interesting thing about DAOs is that it's really enabled for a lot of people for the first time to really take part in governance. A lot of us, we go to the booth, we cast our votes, we may think about our candidates, but rarely do we ever really think about the implications of the bills that are being passed. Whereas in DAOs, this is how they function. They're a literal democracy. The thing is, though, I feel like a lot of people, in my experience actually in being in DAOs and communities, is that they quite haven't acclimated to this kind of new paradigm. Personally, the experience that I've had as a developer in this particular DAO is that, I put in months of work completely revamping a particular application that they had. And, upon delivery, not even like a thank you, not even an acknowledgement, nothing from the community. And it was painful, to be honest. But, I've learned. There are definitely some things I like to do is just look back, and I like to think logically about things. And I saw that, yes, I had some confirmation bias by looking at the successful proposals and not considering, what hasn't, gone through the pipeline. And I think survivalship bias, like the ones that, again, pass through. But
what about from the founding perspective of an organization, or like people who are leading
Yes.
the organization? What should they do better from the biases?
Yeah, I think the thing is that no matter what the organization is, there needs to be leadership. There needs to be somebody or some group beating a drum, keeping the organization moving forward. And that's just however, we group ourselves, tribes, whatever. So in DAOs, when you have something like this, then it kind of, if a problem arises, then we think that, oh, somebody else is going to take care of it. Like, oh, I said some things, but somebody else will respond to it, and ends up nobody doing it.
Decentralized.
Right. So I think
every time something is not working, we say it's decentralized.
right. So it's that accountability, right? That layer of accountability that's kind of an issue. And I think that's an interesting thing, right, about what we're seeing with AI in particular. Is that AI, I think, can really offer us the tool to really guide us in the decision-making process. So as a proposal comes through, instead of just blindly, trying to coax the system to get more people to reach quorum, to get more people to vote, well, that may actually decrease the quality of vote. That may actually cause people to be more biased, or just to quickly glance over like a 15-page proposal that somebody spent like a week or more writing, and then just make a decision, by whatever. I think what I'm proposing, I'm working on, is a way to actually inject AI into the system to, be a gatekeeper, but also to assist in the decision-making process. So to ensure that, first of all, every vote that goes through needs to have a reason, and it needs to have a well-reasoned, reason. So that the AI is going to be the one that guides the person to do that, and is also the final arbiter to make sure that it gets through. So
I want to add, it's not just the AI that we will leave it up to making the decision. It's very important to feed the AI with the right information. We all have heard of garbage in, garbage out about AI. So it goes back to the responsibility of the founders and leaders of the organization. Founders are responsible in the beginning, but then afterwards is the leaders. Founders can choose to be a leader. I chose to be a leader of the Fashion DAO, but it doesn't have to be just them. But as Phillip said, we are naturally, some people are more leaders, and then if we align our values, personal values, with the organization, then it's our responsibility to clearly define what those directions are, how we are making decision. And this tool that Phillip is talking about, we are actively building, and we are not just building it for DAOs, we're building it for all organization and even government. We feel like a lot of challenges that is happening in the world right now is literally because of the superly biased decisions, that these biases are not necessarily for good or coming from our laws or rules that we all agree on. It's more personal biases or lack of information. And so what we are proposing to this organization is to have a reasoning behind every vote. And when you have the reasoning, then there is a filter and there is the system, that technology that can say, yes, this decision is made based on our values, or no, it doesn't make sense because, oh, I don't like this person, so I'm just not gonna accept their proposal. So things like that will really make a more empowering environment for people to do well. And then the other element we learned through the Fashion DAOs experience is that incentivizing people is so important. Even though we are all excited about the future, we are all about doing well and doing good with the similar values and excitements that we have, we learned that it's important to incentivize people even in a monetary sense, in so many levels. I was avoiding even issuing tokens for the Fashion DAO because a lot of times we see people issue tokens before creating value, but the right way of doing it is after creating the value. So we are now about to do that. This is a lot of learnings that we have been grateful learning from the community. And Ioanna, you tell us how NEAR is incentivizing their community. We were fortunate enough to be one of the grantees of NEAR. And tell us more about the programs NEAR has.
Yeah, so NEAR has been trying to kind of pass the baton on to the community. There was a vehicle, NEAR Foundation, that is kind of the grant giving arm of NEAR, but right now what they're trying to do is kind of give that power to DAOs that are focused on certain verticals to give that decision-making process to communities that are either creatives, developers, marketing professionals. And so that community-led effort is important because it's kind of similar to the question of why are certain decisions made. It's really more transparent when it's governed by a vehicle that is giving those reasons, that does encourage conversation and feedback via forums or whatever other tool. And so that's kind of the new step. Prior, NEAR Foundation was giving out the grants and kind of being that point organization to make those decisions, but now it's governed by smaller groups and projects on NEAR too. So for instance, Mintbase is one of the organizations that I had mentioned that really does also encourage applicants for their NFT marketplace to create their own value, their own communities, and kind of helping them with some initial funding. And that's kind of the way that I think this path should go forward, that it is really based on who the people that are intrinsically motivated to contribute to the vision and the values of the organization, and then giving them the decision-making power to decide what gets funded and what doesn't. So it's always a work in progress, though, so that's another. And
this is the beautiful thing about our experience with NEAR, is that it wasn't so much dependent on the organization that we were building. It was the alignment of values, and then finding that organization after organization, we're still working with NEAR proudly. And the Fashion DAO is doing an event with NEAR on Friday. I highly encourage you guys to join us. But it's all about finding those alignments, and then you will be forever partners. and you will be happy to keep supporting them. And Phillip had that bad experience with this other DAO, and he had a good experience with Near. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I think the thing with Near is that they have structure as an organization. They have, accountability. They have a system, that's, well-oiled and functional. And, people like, Joanne that can, really, lubricate the community by encouraging people to speak up and talk, right? I mean, a lot of times developers trying to get them together is kind of like herding cats, right? So, and she does an amazing job, doing that. But not every organization or DAO that comes through necessarily has this ability or incentive. And you touched on the word, Nico, that's interesting, and that's alignment. Because to get back to what I was saying earlier about AI, is that alignment is actually a big problem, with how intelligences are going to be developing in the future. So as these general intelligence develop, how can we ensure that they align with our values, right? How we think, how we govern, what's important for us. And there's this thing called an Atom framework that's essentially boils it down to three things, right? So reduce suffering in the world, increase prosperity, and increase understanding. So we embed the AI system with these things, and it can help us, right? So, and the thing is that, like ChatGPT, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with it, but now these autonomous AI systems are emerging, right, that can actually independently go about and do their thing. So we envision taking an agent like that and embedding it and interacting with our smart contract, for certain functions that, we vote on and help facilitate us. Be in our Discord, engage, right, be in the community and, say, hey, guys, this person, has done a lot of work, right, maybe we should have a discussion about it, bring attention. Help people give voice, right? And the thing is that the more that we help develop and culture and nurture really this AI system, the more we're also helping to give back to the larger AI community, because these large language models will be able to really, utilize this to better themselves in other areas, right? Not just, within DAOs. So I see like Web3 and AI kind of has an interesting symbiotic relationship when it comes to governance, right? Because at the core of it, of everything that we do, right? Like as Socrates says, like this is all politics. Everything we do in life is politics, and I think
it doesn't have to be those scary politics.
No, right? But I mean in the sense of politics as in coming together and making decisions about how to move forward together, into the future, right? And pretty soon it's not going to be just us, right?
Yes, so now that AI is so popular and so successful, how can we merge it with some of the good aspects of Web3? Now that we are not seeing as much excitement in Web3, that's kind of like the vision of the Fashion DAO, and everything what we do is like merging all the emerging tech, the best of all these worlds, and even traditional corporate, like not everything was wrong. We truly believe that DAO and decentralization doesn't mean flat. We do need hierarchy, we do need leadership. There are a lot of good things about the past and many years of experiences, but it's about like picking the good ones and then mixing them for a better future, and we are at the future stage. So that's the exciting part of what we're working on, and we encourage you all to follow us on this journey, and we will be actually making all of this very available. Even the legal documents that we are creating, there's MIT license, now we are having TFT license. So we will make all of this available for all of you to hopefully use and benefit from. And this is for the future. We are aiming to be the world's most equitable organization, and we need all of you to help us being in this journey with us. Thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you at our event on Friday. Thank you.